are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
What's up, War Report family? It's your boy Mike G here with my guy B Will. We're talking linebacker, pass rush, defensive end, all that stuff today. B, how's it going this morning?
I can't complain, man. Got my little coffee, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to feel a little better.
Just realized I was muted during the intro. So in case you didn't hear me say that we're talking about pass rush today, or you didn't read the title, we're talking about pass rush today. You and I got a chance to watch some practice this week. We'll be at practice multiple times this spring as well as A-Day. And Auburn has had an issue with pass rush, right? They've had some great pass rushers, but pass rush has been a problem. Getting pressure on the quarterback has been a problem. Ron Roberts is bringing in a new system. They lose Derek Hall and Ekuliota on the edge. Who are we looking for? You got Jason Jones is on the line. Jeffrey Imba, we've heard good reports about him. Dylan Brooks hopefully maybe steps up. So, what do we do about pass rush here this year?
What do we do? Well, we hope that we've got somebody who is exceptional at getting to the quarterback on the roster. So what we've had the last few years is typically when we've been really good at pass rush, we've had one guy who was great at it outside of 2019, where both Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown were really good at getting through the line and getting into the backfield. So I want you to think about this. We had 2017. It was one dude, right? It was pretty much Sensei Mud, and that was the pass rush. If you want to go back to 2022, last year, even though he wasn't on the field that long, Ekuliota. He was the one guy when every time we went back and looked at the film with Ike, when he did watch the film, he was beating his man and he was getting into the backfield consistently. But that injury cut his season short. Derek Hall wasn't quite the pass rush specialist. Now, he had and brace yourself here, Mike, high motor that allowed him to be productive. But he was not the pass rusher that Ekuliota is. So think about Sensei Mud in that season. I'm thinking about, of course, D Ford was our one super pass specialist on that 2013 team. If you want to go back to 2010, even that far, Nick Fairley, he was the one, right? He's going to get it done. We haven't been a pass rushing unit. We've had a couple of pass rush specialists that really panned out, but we haven't been a just dominant pass rushing unit in a very long time. And what I would like to see, what I hope we see, is that we somehow get more than one guy that's really good at rushing the passer. Not somebody who's not a unit that's just depending on that one guy, because what happens when he gets hurt? I remember Carl Lawson, 2015, I want to say it was. 2014 and 2015, when he was out of the game, our entire defense got worse. But when he was in the game, because of the threat he was rushing the passer, he created situations where the offense had to account for him, and it freed other guys up. But there was a marked difference because he spent a lot of time hurt in 2015, and he was a big decision. Is he going to come back 2016? He did. But we've had one guy anchoring us on that defensive line. Every season we were really good defensively. One guy, with the exception being 2019, we had many. We actually had a few because Nick Cole was on that line and he was wreaking havoc until he kind of faded out over the course of the season. But I'm hoping we can kind of reproduce that. Let's get multiple guys you have to account for. I want to see multiple guys that, back-to-back sacks. It takes me back to the days of, man, those Tuberville defenses, man. It was honk if you sat Brody, but yeah, everybody was getting in on the action. It wasn't just one or two. It just wasn't just one dude. I remember McClover had like 4 that game or something like that. But I want to see that. That's what I want to see. I want to see a group effort. I want to see a collaborative effort getting to the quarterback, whether it's our outside linebackers or just some defensive end rush specialists. I want to see these guys get to the quarterback, man.
Yeah. To your point about that year with Carl Lawson, even that year, the pass rush to me was a little underwhelming at times, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't great. And this has been something that has bugged the secondary as well, too, leaving DBs on an island because you can't get to the quarterback. And he's got all day back there to throw the ball. Now, if you don't know how hard it is to backpedal and cover a guy running at you at an accelerating speed toward full speed, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that DBs can cover for about 3 seconds effectively on it, 3 or 4 seconds effectively on average.
Right.
Everything past that is all straight instinct and athleticism,
Right.
right? Forget technique, forget leverage. Like after 3 seconds, you just got to be able to run after a guy and have instincts about which way he's going.
Right.
Because if you mess up the first 3 seconds, it's very difficult. And when you can't get to the quarterback, it makes it more difficult for those DBs. So let's talk about who we got along that line. Jason Jones is is a big name that's returning there on the line. Let's talk about Jason Jones for a second. We've heard reports that he's been more of a vocal leader this year. Part of creating pass rush is about making sure that you can clog the middle, right? Take on double teams and get those guys on the outside free. What do we think about Jason Jones here, man? This is his year. He played last year with a little bit of a hurt arm.
Yeah, so he was hampered last year, but he still played the entire season. So I think Jason Jones is, most of the time when you're talking about players and you think of a guy who is a professional, okay? You think of a guy that's a professional that's in there that is looking to set the tone, not only with what he says, but what he does, how he practices, how consistent he is when he's on the field. I think Jason Jones is one of those stalwart guys. He's one of those guys who you want to call him a locker room guy. And I'm reluctant to say it that way because I don't want to make it sound like that's all he's good for. Because when you hear that in the pros, it's like, right.
Oh, yeah.
The guy can play.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not the situation here. But again, Hugh Freeze seems to be talking about how valuable having a cohesive locker room is. He seems to value that. He's mentioned it a lot, whether it's with the coaches that he has or whether it's how he complimented Tate Johnson on the offensive line. It was about who Tate is to the room. It wasn't about, oh, he's the best player. He said, no, I can't say anybody's playing better than anybody else, but I like his attitude and his effort and what he does for that room. And that's what I think Jason Jones is for the defensive line room. He's a consistent performer, and he's going to get better because he's not going to have a busted elbow coming into the season. What we can expect from any one of these guys, I don't know. And that's what's so cool, because now when the guys around Jason Jones changes, we should be even better. I mean, hell, Jason Jones might have had a better season. Think about Eku Leota, man. If Eku Leota's on the field last season with Derek Hall on the other side,
yeah, right.
Listen, it could have looked a lot different, but they did a good job bringing in those ends, though. They addressed pass rusher with the class, both in transfer and out of high school. However, those high school guys aren't going to be ready game one. I mean, unless you just got some super ridiculous freak athletes that are just ahead of the curve, but I'm not counting on them to be there day one. So I would love it if Jason Jones could be one of those guys that could, man, just cave the offensive line in from the middle. It's possible. Him and Imba, Marcus Harris never let up last year. He was a consistent performer all last year. We've got the dudes. Now, I'm not saying they have to, because I don't know if this defensive staff will end up prioritizing pressure from the. I mean, you always get pressure if you want that. If you got those type of dudes, yeah, they're gonna sink the defense in. But I think about a team like Georgia with Kirby, right? One of the knocks on them in 2021 when they won it the first time was they can't rush the passer. And I remember they were about to call the SEC championship game on the SEC network, and Roman Harper, former Bama, said, this Georgia team defense is really, man, they don't really get after the passer. And listen, he was right. They give up a very, very, very limited amount of yards. They say you will not gain a yard, but they're not coming to get you. What will our defensive strategy be? Right. And are we built to execute it? That's something that we'll only know in time.
Well, let's talk about some other guys on this defensive line. They got Dylan Brooks listed as at the jack position right now. But we assume he's going to be coming off the edge, rushing the passer in some capacity. Also, Marcus Harris is along that line. The newcomer, like, again, I don't hear a lot. I haven't heard a lot about him so far, but they picked up Justin Rogers from Kentucky.
Yeah, they did.
Right. So he's going to be in there on that line trying to bolster what they do. Keldrick Falk, right? This was a big name in the recruiting process that they picked up. Of some of these names, who stands out to you, B?
Who stands out to me? I'm similar to you. So we got Dylan Brooks in the Tennessee McDonald's sweepstakes. And I was very excited to see what he could do. Now, I am not faulting anybody from this point backwards. Anything before right now, we know that coaching had to do with how these guys developed, who got the opportunity to get on the field, and who got the opportunity to improve their play on the field. And we talked about this yesterday. You were like, hey, I think all this progress can be made in the offseason and in between times. And I was like, it can, but I think on the field experience is the biggest differentiator for football players.
For sure.
And I think that he has to get on the field now. He's been through it 2 years, right?
Right.
He's had that weight lifted off of him with a coaching staff that didn't want to put him on the field for whatever reason. Well, now you got a chance. Now you have been here 2 full years. You've been in the strength program. You got on the field and got to flash your ability a little bit. Is he hungry enough? I want Dylan Brooks to shine, man. Let's see some of that 5-star potential, that high forward, depending on the surface, 5-star potential that you flashed coming out of high school. I want to see the guys that we went and got, that we were excited about. I want to see them get their opportunity and shine. Dylan Brooks is my guy going into 2023.
Yeah. Let's talk about Thanos. I neglected to mention him. This is Thanos, or otherwise known as Jeffrey Imba, is another guy who Auburn fans will be looking to make a splash on that defensive line. In the middle of that defense there, you know, he dealt with some injuries last year. They brought him along slowly. You know, it's his time as well. Now I expect they're going to be rotating a lot of guys on defense. This is a thing with everybody. Auburn has always done it traditionally, but you know, other schools are starting to catch up to what Auburn invented. Auburn invented rotating guys frequently on the defensive line. Brian,
We invented that? Okay.
yeah, Auburn invented it.
I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay. But it's going to be one of those things where it is something that, you know, is he running out of time here to be an impact player at Auburn, you know, after the transfer? Like, you know, what do we feel about Jeffrey Imba?
I think the 1 year, we knew that he was a project because he hadn't played football his entire life like most guys do. So I think year one, you just kind of, yeah. I mean, well, year one, he got on the field later. And he got some spot duty, but I think he also had a little bit of an injury year one. So listen, he wasn't a starter, and he wasn't going to start in front of Marcus Harris or Kobe Wooden, and neither should he. These are guys who have been playing, who were productive and played very well. I expect him to turn his corner this year. Now, again, does that mean he is going to be the elite prospect that his physical measurables suggest? Not necessarily, but man, listen, yeah, I'm hoping we got a monster of a body on the inside that can produce. I mean, just be as good as Kobe Wooden was. Like, I just don't want to drop off. Like, you don't even have to be Kobe Wooden, what he was year one, or some superior form of Derrick Brown just because you had number 5. Like, no, like, listen, find your game, find your comfort level playing the game, and then continue to get better. Derrick Brown wasn't 2019 Derrick Brown in 2017. People weren't double teaming Derrick Brown like that in 2017.
Right.
It took him time, and he talked about the maturation process, about how he had to get better and be more consistent about how he worked in practicing on the field. Jeffrey Imba has time to figure his game out, and we're just hoping. We got a lot of potential. Look, just like Dylan Brooks, right? Highly touted, had every reason to believe he was going to be a difference maker. He wasn't a difference maker year one, but again, we knew that he was going to be a project, having not played football that long. I want to see it year 2 now. You've been on the field. You did get those snaps. You got those snaps that Dylan Brooks didn't get. I want to see it. It's time. It's time.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these young guys that will be coming in, because they still got Wilkie Denard, or as I think we're going to call him, Silky Denard, because he's going to be silky smooth out there doing things. Right? Can Silky Denard make an impact? Is there an opportunity for a freshman? I know you talked about experience just now, but is there an opportunity for a freshman to make an impact on this defensive line?
I mean, sure there is. It's going to be, I think if you're coming in as a freshman, if you're a pass rusher, you can rush in spot duty because your speed can do just as much as strength can. I don't think you're going to be an every down outside linebacker as a true freshman. That's a tall task. It's not impossible. I mean, you would technically have the spring weightlifting period and the early summer weightlifting period to get yourself into shape. So it's possible. It's definitely possible. But again, I'm going to lead to the guys who have had the most experience. But nothing would make me happier than to see Wilkie Denard out there just getting after a guy on 3rd and 8, and we didn't even have him in the books as who we were looking to do a lot of producing with sacks. It would be wonderful if we could get some contribution from somewhere we didn't see it. If Wilkie Denard's that dude, if there's another, what's his I'm trying to think because we just talked about him, the 5-star in this class that we got.
Falk, Keldrick
Yeah.
Falk. He was a steal from Bama.
Yeah, no, Keldrick Falk was the one that we got from FSU.
Sorry,
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
So listen, if it could be one of those guys, one thing that I always give time. We talked about how much time do you give coaches before you call it? Like, oh no, that's not it. I'm going to give players and coaches 2 years.
Okay.
I would give any player and any coach at least 2 years. It doesn't click on for everybody, man. Sometimes it just takes a minute or the right situation. Joe Burrow didn't look like Joe Burrow in 2018. Did he look unstoppable his first year at LSU? No, he looked okay.
Yeah,
he was all right.
Yeah, he flashed potential.
He flashed potential, but it was nothing like what he did in 2019. But something
did they have Joe Brady in 2018?
They did not.
No, okay, all right, yeah.
So what's crazy is, and I'm making this point about, and this can be with any defensive coach and defensive player, offensive coach and offensive player. What if you get into a system and under some tutelage that just unlocks you?
Right.
Everything can come on at the same time. It might be some personal motivation about, you see, man, they don't really value me here. I'm losing playing time. I got to turn it on. Or if it's a contract year for professional players, or you get under a coach that really just like, you've got something magnificent, man. I'm going to do something with you. Let's hope that this is that year, that the coaches that we have here can unlock these players. I want to see all these guys shine as soon as possible, but I'm still being patient with the true freshmen.
Well, rounding out, right, they still got Nietzsche Sledge. They also have Zacchaeus Walker along that defensive line. It's going to be a heavy rotation. You know, when I'm looking at this roster, the one thing that they don't have is the Rogue Shop. They don't have the Rogue Shop.
Oh, that was so good.
They forgot to recruit the Rogue Shop.
Man, that was good.
Use code REPORT to get 15% off that Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, anxiety, microphone issues. The Rogue Shop has all the things you need in the morning. So we want to thank our guy Richard for supporting what we're doing over here. Longtime supporter of the War Report. We appreciate you. Support us by supporting our sponsors. Also support us by joining as a patron member. Our patron memberships run $5.99 a month. You get access to special footage, chat privileges during the season. We got some stuff that's family only. Sign up as a patron or give the gift of the War Report with that patron membership. You look for that gifted membership button. YouTube chooses these at random. So if it's somebody who's already doing work in our comment section and liking and subscribing, they're most likely to be on the receiving end of one of these memberships. So give the gift of the War Report. Help us grow our community. We got 10,000 subscribers, but now we're looking for 10,000 patrons. So we need them. Let's get to the comments here. Let's get to some comments before we get out of here. David Whitehead says, morning, guys. Just had foot surgery, but I'll be better listening to the War Report, War Eagle. Thanks for listening, David. He also says, so I hear TJ is making headway in the QB room. Practice has never been his problem.
Yeah.
Practice has never been his problem. And, you know, unfortunately for some of the other guys, practice is where it starts for the coach. Right, he's got to make decisions based on what he sees now that he's here, and that's practice. Right. So we'll see who wins that. Legit says, I think Imba will be a surprise breakout pass rusher this year. I think that's what a lot of people are hoping.
I hope so.
Is that he breaks out because he is a physical monster. And that's how you'll get a nickname like Thanos without being a physical monster, right?
Yeah.
Eddie Whalen says Robbie Ashford will start this year. No way someone comes in and takes it after the spring practice. Yeah, I mean, Brian disagrees with you, Eddie. He thinks there's absolutely somebody coming in after the spring, and that none of these guys are Hugh Freeze's guys, and that they all should pick up sewing or something else. So
hey, come on now, I ain't say all that.
We'll see what happens after the spring, but I do agree with Brian, and I think they attempted to go after a portal QB, but based on how the spring rounds out and how A-Day looks, it might affect how aggressively they go after reaching for somebody if they can't really find their guy in the portal. David Whalen, thank you for David Whitehead. I'm sorry. Thank you for the super chat here. Assuming this is the comment you wanted to go with, this defense will be elite. I said this. Now, if you watch Locked on Auburn, you may have heard me say this on Black Ruby's show. He disagreed with me. But, Brian, I think Auburn has the potential with improvements at D-line and linebacker and an already, to me, elite defensive secondary to be a top 3 defense in the SEC next year. Quick thoughts. I know that's saying a lot, and people
All
are
right.
going to accuse me of booging, but I think this is an objective take based on the potential we're projecting from what we think may happen with some of these guys and what we know about how good that secondary is. And possibly, DeMario Tolan coming in from LSU. We're hearing good reports about him at linebacker. Listen, LSU fans were in shambles,
Yeah.
over Tolan leaving. It wasn't like, oh, we didn't want him anyway, or he sold drugs at the student union. They didn't make up they didn't make up any rumors. They just said, yeah. He left. We hate that. Right. So talk to me about what the ceiling of this defense is.
I think the ceiling is, I don't know about top 3. I definitely say top 5. I think the ceiling is top 5. Top 3 is that's putting you ahead of some people who have a really good head start on the talent that they've been accruing, and they would have been playing under the same coach's system for a year or two. So I don't know. It's rough. It's rough to put us in the top 3. That means, who would you put us behind automatically? Georgia, because of course, maybe Bama. LSU had a really good run on transfers last year. They brought in some good transfer talent, and it actually looked really good early, but then they had some injuries. They had some injuries that set them back. But their defense was playing really well at a certain point of the season, and I don't think they brought in a bunch of one and dones. I think they brought in a bunch of 2-3 year players. So it could be that LSU, I would say LSU, Alabama, Georgia, top 3. I give us a shot at 4.
Okay.
And mostly be just,
I
always give a nod to continuity.
That's still boogie.
It is.
That's still boogie. I'll take it.
I give us a nod for continuity. Whoever's got continuity, I'm giving them a nod. But I agree. I think the secondary is going to be phenomenal. Phenomenal. We have a chance at being the best secondary in the conference, and I don't even think that's booging. DJ James was one of the best corners in the conference. He could have gone pro this year, and he decided to come back. We still got Keontae Scott back there, and they got a grip of cornerbacks committed. Austin Osbury was here last year. He was a highly touted guy. We didn't even see him yet. We're going to be good. We're going to be great in the secondary. The linebackers, we have to figure it out. I think the one positive that you can have about the linebackers is what we have is guys who have played.
Yeah.
Keys was supposed to. He's a really good prospect.
Austin Keys is another one. I neglected to mention him. Yeah.
DeMario Tolan's a really good prospect. We've got Woodyard, who's been here a year. He won't be light. He'll be ready to contribute. Cam Riley, assuming he stays healthy this year, he actually played pretty well when he was on the field. So we've got enough guys to fill out the linebacker spots. Again, similar to the offensive line, you got enough new bodies there where can you make it the right mix? Can you give us the right mix of guys at those linebacker spots? We will see. But I think that's what is probably most contingent on what we're talking about, defensive line and pass rush. Right. Can we penetrate? Can we get into the backfield, get tackles for loss? And when we have to rush the passer, can we do it? That's what will determine it, man.
It's going to be interesting to watch. Corey Weber says, Silky Wilkie has been a pleasant surprise so far this spring. Big boy. I agree. Ben Blower says, Mike, stop saying Silky. It's not going to happen. I'm going to keep using it until y'all start saying it too. Todd Jordan says, I do miss Tuberville's defenses. Man. Those were some hard hat, blue collar defense. Those were some lunch pail, just get to work defenses we had. You know, maybe Ron Roberts brings that back at Auburn. We'll see. I think with guys like Jason Jones in the room, you have a shot. Keep recruiting those type of guys. James Barnett, fellas, I think our team is way underrated. Thoughts? I do. I think the talent, for the most part, is somewhat there. The coaching needs to catch up in some areas, and that's why you fired the last coach and hired a new one, right? There's a belief that coaching can help get us there from underrated to rated, right?
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see how that goes. Ike in here. Tune in tonight on the Midweek Report here. B will tell us how trash our QB room is. LOL.
Hey, man.
Go to be a show tonight.
Might say this is the worst QB room in 16 years. I don't know. I might have to make a declaration. We'll see.
And Corey Weber says Tolan has potential, but he came in really light, 203.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah, he has time to bulk up, though. Man, he has time to bulk up. Who knows? Maybe he caught a stomach bug and pooped out 20 pounds. You never know. No, there was a really bad bug going around like a month ago. I caught
20
it.
pounds? I don't even want to get into the logistics of how that would be possible.
Football players, they eat a lot of protein.
Wow.
And so it's going to be interesting. Speaking of poop, You know who has something for poop is the Rogue Shop.
Oh,
They
Lord.
can help. They can help you.
What are we doing?
They can help you poop at the Rogue Shop. 15% off your poop products to help you get that nice bowel movement. Use code REPORT to get that. I want to thank the Rogue Shop for being a longtime sponsor of the War Report. Also, become a patron member. It helps support the content that we're doing here at the War Report. Myself, B. Will, Ike Jones, C. Dub, working hard to bring you guys content 7 days a week. So help us continue to do that by signing up or give the gift of the War Report. Guys, you don't want to miss the midweek report tonight. We're talking QBs. Always interesting conversation when we're talking QBs. So join us tonight on the midweek report. We'll be back at you guys Friday morning with the next drop. I want to thank everybody for watching. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Drop.